Hey Daryl, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is fun.
So we'll just dive right into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to our virtual career day series. My name is Josh Walker. I'm an architect coming to you live from my home because like many of you, we're learning and working from home these days. If this is your first time joining us, this is our effort at HKS to introduce you to one of the largest architecture firms in the world and the many professionals it takes to make it happen. We design everything from stadiums to skyscrapers, hotels, hospitals. We have over 1,000 people in all industries. We use architects, accountants, interior designers, engineers, human resources, researchers, and everything in between. There's a place in the world really for everyone. So far, we've talked with sustainability engineer Mike Brown, director of Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, Giselle Santos Rivera, architect Adeze Kade, and interior designer Delia Shalois. You can find all those episodes on our YouTube or Instagram TV right here. This week, we're back in our Unexpected Career Options mini-series, unofficial, talking with Director of Photography Daryl Daryl Shields, who is the man who makes all of us look good and our projects. So thank you for joining us, Daryl.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So far we've started all of these with the same question. If you go back to your high school days, what did you think your career would look like?
Oh, that's a great question. Most of most of my high school days, I would think music, something to do with music. I was big into band. I was big into choir, even musical theater. So it was going to be art, just a little bit different of an art.
Right. Okay. So if you were first thinking music, when did you discover photography?
Yeah, it was around my 11th and 12th grade year. I got a bunch of dark room equipment. A guy in my neighborhood was, I want to say, selling it or giving it away, and I grabbed it all, not knowing the faintest idea how to use it. But I started in, did the did the whole, got the bathroom blacked out and saw the image appear in front of my very eyes in the dark room, and I was hooked.
Okay, for our younger viewers,
Mhm.
darkroom equipment. What does darkroom have to do with taking a picture?
That's a great question. So back in the old days, it was a very analog process. So we had enlargers and negatives and the chemicals. That part's kind of gone now, but a lot of the stuff in Photoshop with dodging and burning has to do with the darkroom tools. But everything was a lot more analog back then, to say the least.
Interesting. And so you've obviously worked through the transition and kept that as a career. Um, do you see technology as a disruptor of the values of old photography, or is it complementary?
No, I do not see it as a disruptor. I was into computers big time when I was a kid. I got a Commodore 64, one of the earliest like home computers back in the day. And I didn't really think of, the things I did in the dark room with photography intersecting with technology at the time. But now it's proved to be so important. I think the staples, composition, being able to relate the built environment, all of that is very important and are timeless. But the technology only helps you, and it keeps evolving and even raising the medium.
Okay. So technology clearly having taken huge leaps
Yes.
from where it began when you were first getting into the industry. Do you see it as something that you really need to know in order to enter the profession now?
That's a great question. I don't think so. There are still photographers today that are amazing photographers, world-class photographers who have assistants who know all the computers and how to load SD cards and how to put it in Photoshop and retouch it, but they capture their vision, and that's the part they really concentrate on. You just have to know what you know and what you want to accomplish in your career moving forward. If you're big into technology, use it. If you're not at all, go that route. Even if you could even go the film route still. Fine artists still use film, and a lot of it's like, well, just like vinyl, film is coming back in a way amongst some young people even.
Interesting. So then if I want to start an interest in photography, do I need to go buy a film camera or a DSLR?
Oh, that's fine, but I think everyone has a camera in their pockets to start with. When I started photography, the cost was very prohibitive to a lot of people. It was very expensive, very, very expensive. And now I think there's a lot more options for young people to start. Everyone could start, at a super young age now and take as many photos as they want and kind of study the craft.
Okay. So if that's the way you get into it, how do you pick a field or a specialty? You landed in architectural photography, for example. Why architectural photography?
That's a great question. I for most of my career, I learned in commercial photography, which is just another fancy word for advertising and shooting product. It's really good at teaching you technical skills. In 2004, a friend of mine called and said he was making a Japanese bar guide, and we flew to Japan with him and a writer, and I walked around Japan, and I found a love for photographing the built environment. And that's when I really switched to digital, since we weren't going to carry suitcases of film around the streets of Japan for 3 months.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you've been in architectural photography for so long, what makes a good architectural photograph? What do you look for? What do you want to capture?
That's a great question, and the beholder is always always important. But I think you look at light and shadow, and you look at conveying the architect's vision, your vision in your head, what you want to display, what you want the emotion to come through, or what detail you want to show. I think if you succeed at doing those things, then that can be considered a success.
Okay. So how do you determine what makes a good angle or a good photo? Like, if you're looking for something unique in each project, the architect's vision, for lack of a specific term, is there a common thread? Is there something that you look to celebrate in particular?
There's always something about photograph. I try to incorporate, if it's exterior architectural photography, the time of day, light, how the light and shadow work, and sometimes it's as easy as a detail with something that makes it look abnormal, that actually lifts it. You want to raise the bar as far as like something that gives you a little bit of oh wow, that's a different take on it.
Okay.
And there's many answers as many people, I guess, out there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So if that's what you're looking for as a photographer, what does it take to be a photographer? If you're looking to get into the industry, you mentioned you don't necessarily need the most expensive equipment to get started, but what does it take to, take it to the next level?
That's a great question. How do you become a professional photographer when everyone has a camera in their pocket? How do you call yourself a professional? I think resilience and studying the art and the craft of it is so important. You really need to get out of the hobby zone and really need to think as a professional what you need to do to make sure the vision, you get it on the day you need to get it, at the time you need to get it. Take thousands of photos, the whole 10,000 hour rule. It might not be hard and fast, but I think 10,000 photos, you just shoot, and you'll get to a point where you're like, I can predict what's going to happen and how this is going to come together. And that will be the first step of making it to the professional realm.
Okay. So that talks about kind of the characteristics of what it takes. What about the practical career steps? How do I enter the profession?
Great question. I think practically, it's never been a more exciting time for photography. It's also a very challenging time because there are so many photographers. And I think I was very lucky to have a mentor that helped me along the way. I think finding someone or reaching out to architecture firms, studying other architectural photographers. If architectural photography is the way you want to go, that's a great way to start, and just start shooting buildings, start shooting famous buildings, start shooting iconic buildings, start shooting the buildings down your street or your house if that's all you have available. Just start studying the built environment.
Okay. Any last tips for aspiring photographers or somebody who wants to take their Instagram game to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's many tutorials out there on getting better and getting enough knowledge where you need to really push forward and learn manual steps on. There are certain apps even on your phone where you can learn what f-stops are and how to use light and dark, and then you can really start to tweak things and not just put filters on, but really start to understand camera settings.
Okay.
And that's always a great thing to know. Their auto's great, but also a great thing to know, really getting in there, getting your hands dirty, so to speak.
See a question from the crowd. Do you know one of those phone apps in particular you would recommend us for a beginner?
Yeah, one's called Manual. The name of the app is called Manual, and it's great. And it's literally, you can just like if you had a DSLR, you can move the f-stop back and forward and kind of play with the light and the ISO of the film.
All right.
So to speak.
And I think we've got time for one or two more questions from the crowd. I see one about how do you handle interior photography?
Interior photography. All right. Well, that is, number one ally is a tripod. Always great. The time of day, if it has, architecture has changed a little bit. When I first started, it seemed like interiors are always dark. And now with the change in the architectural styles, sunlight is really being reflected. So you usually have a lot of light coming through. Study that. Just try to, my tip on that would be starters they really go wide with the views. Try to make it as less wide. Include all the details you need to in the shot without trying to show everything. So really kind of study the interior.
I think this comes back to the 10,000 photos thing. You got to find balance.
Right.
Well, that brings us to the end of our scheduled time. I thank everybody for joining us. We'll be back here next week with another interview. I'll be talking to a designer from one of our international offices in London. So if you want to know a little bit more about the international nature of the profession, tune in. It'll be a lot of fun. And if this interview interested you, I highly recommend you go to our website, click on the What We Do tab at the top, and pick a project type that interests you. Spend some time looking at the projects and the things Daryl talked about today. Then Google those buildings, see if you can find snapshots or public photos that really complement those buildings and the perspectives. And if you can do this safely, look for landmarks worth capturing with your phone camera in your area. Experiment with time of day and different weather conditions. You'll discover, I suspect, just like Daryl did and a lot of our students in school, it takes a lot of photos to get a good one. It's really easy to take pictures. It's really hard to take great pictures. And then come back here next Tuesday and learn about a whole other career at HKS. We're looking forward to it. Remember, this video will go live on Instagram TV soon, and you can share with friends and teachers who need to know about us. If you have follow-up questions, you can comment there, and we'll do our best to get back to you. Thanks again, everybody. Stay safe. Thanks again, Daryl.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.